The courses table. Now we are creating the enrollments table. So the enrollment table is supposed to be a way of relating the students, the courses that the students are taking, right? So that is why we have student ID. So this student ID relates to the student that is taught in the student data in the student table, while the courses ID is talking about the course that the student is taking. Are we together? Then the grade. Basically, this is going to be like the grade of that very course. Now, we're going to introduce a concept here called the foreign key. Now, a foreign key is what really tells this very relationship, right? There is a concept we will not be talking about here, but in case you want to read about it, you can go ahead. It's called cardinality. Cardinality. Okay, you can write it down. Cardinality. So cardinality is what will tell you about how tables can relate with each other. Right? For example, now, a teacher, there is one teacher to 20 students. So that is what? One to many. We also have certain relationships that are what? Many to many. We have many to one. Are we together? So these are things that, you can represent them in database. But for the purpose of this very project we're working on, we won't be going too deep. So I'll just be limiting ourselves to what a foreign key is. So a foreign key helps you to reference a particular table to another table. Do you understand? Such that when you are entering data and it doesn't see one thing in that very table, it tells you, sorry, this thing does not exist in this table. So now we bring the concept of foreign key. Now after we have stated our columns, we are going to say what? Foreign key. You can see here, foreign key. Then we are going to say open bracket. Then we are going to put the foreign key. Now what's our first foreign key here? Student's ID. So it's foreign to this very table, right? And then it's supposed to reference another table. So what's the table we are referencing? So we are going to say references what? Students. That's the name of the table we are referencing. And then even the students, which of the columns in the students table are we referencing? The ID, right? So we are saying, CO, this student ID that you are seeing here, it relates to an ID that is stored in the students table. Do you understand the logic? Okay. So after we have done that, we have what again? Another foreign key. Do we not? What is the next foreign key that we have? Yes, so we call it foreign key. We now what? Open bracket, close. We call it courses. Is it courses? No, course. Only course underscore ID. Then we now say what? References. What now? Course. 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 The ID in what? The course. Are we together? Now, if we have done this, that is all. We have defined a table and we have linked this table to the different tables that we need. Are we together? Now, if you notice something here, you will see that this underscore that we are putting here relates to the table, and then what comes after the underscore is the ID, is the column in that very table. Now, this is not compulsory. We can decide to say instead of student, okay, is this student? This is supposed to be student ID. Instead of saying student, I can decide to say maybe pupils ID. But this is just for the sake of standard. This is how people do it so that you don't forget. So let me copy this code and then I'll run this. When I run this, okay, so we're having so what's the error we're having? Can't create students, can't create table this, error 150 foreign key constraint is incorrectly formed. So we have an issue with one of our foreign key. So let me check. What could be the issue we're facing? So foreign key, student ID, references students, ID, and then it doesn't. Okay, it's student. Yeah, thank you. So it's supposed to be student. So you can see now here it must relate to the exact name, right? While here it just have to relate with whatever you put here. Do we all understand? So let's try and run this thing one more time and see how it goes. And we're still having an error. So it's saying it's incorrectly formed. It's incorrectly formed. What are we missing? What are we missing? Oh, it's students. Can you see it? It's actually what? Students. So let's correct this to S, and this to S. Right? So let me copy this, and then I'll run it. And we're still having an error. So we keep looking at this on. Oh, it's courses. Okay. So let's paste the code, and then so let's solve this. S. This is also having S. This is also having S. So you can see some of these issues that can. Yes. So we now have our courses, our enrollments table. Now let's try and look at how they look like. You can see we have 3 tables here. Now when we click on the students table and we'll click on structure, we'll be able to see how it looks like. Now, can you see something here? Can you see something here? A key here. A yellow key. Now this yellow key is telling you that this is what? This is a primary key. Are we together? Let's go to the next table and see how it looks. Courses, we click on the structure. It's also having this key, which means it identifies that this is what the primary key. Now let's see courses and see what happens. When we click on courses and then we click on structure, you can see that we're having this also, right? But then when we scroll down, are we having, okay, I wanted it to show us the index where you can see the list of primary keys that you have. Okay, nonetheless, we have this. Are we together? So we are done with the tables.